So just because you made it, I want to know. You're going to tell
I
me.
just do 3 big heaping scoops for 3 cups.
That's something else. Something else going on now. Something else going on now. You won't have to tell me what it is now. I need to know the secret. The Amelia family secret for making perfect coffee. I need to know.
Oh, I forgot I was going to get it.
Hello, Sophie. How are you? Good morning. Or I guess happy afternoon, supposedly. Yee-haw. Ciao, Paul. That is kind of funny. Like in a lot of the world, my name is pronounced Paul. 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 Paul, use your overwhelming power to undo my sickness. Sim sim salabim. All right, you're better.
Well, TJ might be a better avenue for that.
I don't know. I mean, you go to a chaos wizard, you get chaos, you know.
Yeah.
Doing great. Just clocked in at work. Cool. You got a cool job. You can hang out and chill with me while you work.
I mean, you probably could have gotten away with that at your old job if that was what you did.
I mean, I would put earbuds in and like listen to music or a podcast when I was just.
Yeah.
But typically, I only did that when I was on campus by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many people, when they saw you, they want to ask you something. They want to flag you down, and it would be real rude if I was just.
Yeah. So you didn't have a whole lot of downtime unless you were just alone.
During the summers,
Yeah.
when school was out and we were redoing everything, I would play whatever I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Take a break and sit and listen to a podcast, keep it with me the whole day while I walked around. But that was just, that couple of months.
Did you finish your break?
Work in the news industry on the production side, so I'm able to watch streams while I work. That's cool. Neato burrito. That is cool. What do you think of the rise of OnlyFans? I don't understand it. I don't. I do not understand in a world where pornography is free and so abundant that you could literally just watch porn 3 hours a day, every day for the rest of your life and never see the same 2 scenes again, right? Like it's an absurd amount of pornography. And you're going to pay one girl X amount of dollars a month, usually a lot of money a month, to like see her breasts and her vagina. And it's like,
I mean, the argument I've heard from some people is that, like, that way they know that she's getting the money and that she's consenting to it, whereas, like, some random video on Pornhub might be trafficked girls for all you know.
I guess. I mean, how do we know that there's not trafficked girls?
There's been trafficking on OnlyFans.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a tricky thing. It's like trafficking is something that's an issue on anything like that. So. That's just the argument I've heard for why.
I doubt that is what's going through the men, and mostly men's minds.
There's that parasocial thing too.
That's what it is, I think.
Like, I pay this one girl and she sends something to me.
Right.
She's not making it for some director of a studio.
I think amongst a lot of them too, there is a fantasy that if they are a contributor and they're constantly going over the top for this chick, that eventually she's going to notice them.
Even though the biggest ones have like some dudes in India fucking replying to their sexy messages and shit.
Yeah. It just feels more personal, like the dude can feel like he has a relationship with the girl and gets a better nut off of that, I guess, but...
I feel like a strip club would accomplish that better.
And cheaper.
Yeah. And, like, you have an actual chance with a stripper.
True. Not a very good one, but you do. It's a real person. Yeah. I mean, I don't, whatever. I'm not trying to be judgmental about it or whatever, because, it's a two-way street. Most of the women, presumably on OnlyFans, choose to do that. Most of the men choose to be fans of that, and it's, is what it is. I just don't understand it. It's, and that's something that it's one step more than masturbation. And I don't understand how you how you allow that to happen.
You know what it is?
What?
Kids just ain't as creative these days.
Ain't as creative.
You had to go back in the day and look at one magazine spread and make a whole scenario in your head.
That is true. That is so fucking true. Yeah. Moving images were a rarity, you know what I mean? And having a stack of magazines was about the best you could do.
People just need to get more creative.
Yeah. It's the creativity. There was a RuPaul's Drag Race contestant who they said worked for OnlyFans models and wrote personalized messages back and forth with their fans. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, like,
if you're pulling in $400K a month,
yeah.
you can pay you. All you have to do is do the photo shoots. That's the only thing that's required from you.
People to send the messages.
Hire a photographer to come shoot you for a while. Hire a social media team to pretend that they're you and interact with your big fans. Have just a logistics team that posts everything and make sure everything.
Or have a stack to put in the messages.
Yeah.
Like, oh, someone wants a titty shot. Here's the titty shot that looks more like spontaneous that you throw in there.
Yep. Afternoon, Paul. Out of curiosity, what was your first car? My first car was a 1981 Ford Tempo 5-speed. It was white. And I bought it for like $700, I think. Maybe $800. In 1996.
I feel like we had similar first cars, but yours was probably in way better shape. My car was older than me. It was my first car. It was $900 and $18 or whatever.
About the same price, give or take, inflation, but for sure. And yeah, mine was not beat up in the way that you described yours. My speedometer worked, everything was okay. It wasn't falling apart. It wasn't nice. I wouldn't call it nice, but it was. My favorite thing about that car was that I turned it into a sleeper. I put big subwoofers in it, and it had people hella looking around for the big nice car when I would pull up.
And just be a little tempo.
Just my little fucking 5-speed, my little 4-banger. Yeah. I like. I think it would be neat to have to recreate that car for nostalgia reasons, and it would probably be relatively cheap too. The hardest thing would be to find an 81 Ford Tempo 5-speed that still runs, that didn't need so much work that it would, Apparently TJ's first car. Yeah, we talked about that. I remember but he had a 90s Tempo, and I had an early 80s. Mine was also a 5-speed, and his was an automatic, if I remember correctly. I don't even know if they continued to make the 5-speed into the 90s on the Tempo. Probably not. I mean, they were really common cars. You think about the Ford Tempo. Think about, like, in modern terms, the Camry, or what's that? I mean, not Camry, because those are a little too nice. Think of like what's the Toyota, like the entry level Toyota that you see everywhere. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It was like that. You saw them all the time back in the 90s because they were really cheap and really reliable little cars that were super easy to fix and work on. Corolla, a Geo Prism, yeah, or a Geo Metro, yeah. You guys have more in common than I thought. There's some weird stuff, you know what I mean? His lifelong best friend Galen, my lifelong best friend Waylon. You know what I mean? It's like,
Damn. Someone wants almost $3,000 for a '90 Ford Tempo.
well, that's just the way that, like, the car market has done that
Yeah.
now. That's why kids can't afford to go get a beater and have a putt putt for around town anymore, because you know. $3,000 for anything, it seems to be. That's just kind of sad because that used to be a whole little economy in and of itself, right?
Yeah, like,
You
this
had
is
it,
a 35-year-old car.
and not a great car either.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking about it from nostalgia.
Yeah.
The Tempo is not a great car. It's especially, like, the automatic.
Yeah.
It's just so, it's just, but it looks like that person kept it pretty cherry.
Yeah.
So that does add some fucking, theoretical price to it. It was just like grandpa's extra car that was in a garage with a cover over it for 20 years or some shit.
It has 84,000 miles.
For a fucking 92 car, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got a lot of miles on it. You got a 78 Lincoln, like a Continental. That's pretty nice. If you got yourself like a big old boat Continental for cheap, that's fucking cool, bro. That's actually legit. I mean, not great for like gas, like as a kid. Top of the line trim, yeah. Yeah, those big boat kind of 70s and early 80s Cadillacs and Lincolns are so fucking cool. Just like such a big throaty engine on it, and then the trim is just like so like nostalgically 70s velvet cool. My parents, I think my grandma had a Cadillac Coupe de Ville. Or no, it was a Cadillac Century or something. I can't remember what it was, back in the 80s. And she couldn't drive anymore. And my parents bought it from her. And that was our family car for a while after the wreck, after my dad wrecked the Thunderbird. Our family car was this big, giant boat of a Cadillac. And I really liked that car. Be surprised at the gas mileage this beauty gets with everything stock under the hood. Oh yeah, I mean, especially if you're keeping the maintenance up on it, right? Like, those old engines are not inefficient in comparison to modern engines, just so long as they're properly maintained. You got to adjust your timing and make sure your timing is hitting proper. You got to take it in if you're not a mechanic.
Yeah, I feel like they almost dropped like the chase for fuel efficiency when EVs started coming out. I think they could have gotten more efficient little sedans, but then the EVs came out and they're just like, good enough.
Yeah. Well, now it seems like when people, more and more, when people are looking for a non-EV, they're looking for a truck.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, fuel efficiency is not the name of the game on a truck.
Mm-hmm.
I want it 28K OG miles. That's fucking crazy, bro. That is not bad. You smoking that Zaw? What do you think? What do you think, little nephew?
Here's one. A 1957 Cadillac DeVille for $1,000.
It probably barely runs at all. It looks nice on the outside, but there ain't no way they're selling that fucking crazy car for $1,000. If they're, I'd be no
They're claiming
engine.
it only has 75k miles on it.
That's a lot for an old car like that.
Yeah.
There could be a monstrous problem under that hood.
Yeah.
And I would almost guarantee that there is, because the outside of that looks way too cherry.
Yeah.
So there's something real. There's no way somebody is just looking for $1,000 for that. I don't know. How bad is the I feel like today it's not super bad. But maybe that's just because my mod's been working overtime. I haven't seen a whole lot of that happening though. There's been a couple. You even replace an old engine with a modern one. Well, I mean, you start to get into pick aparting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an old engine, of course you can't get a mod. I mean, that is not necessarily the case either. You can throw an engine into an older car that is a more modern engine. It's just a whole thing. But with these older cars, especially ones that were super widespread, like a Lincoln or a Cadillac or something, the best way to do that, and probably the cheapest way, would be to pick apart the engine. So find the part of the engine that is broken, explode the whole engine, take the whole engine apart, right? Go out, find that engine in another car, yoink the part off of it. And that's, assuming it's something like that, assuming you didn't blow the whole engine or.
Yeah, probably like to rebuild classic cars, it's a matter of cannibalizing a bunch of similar ones.
Yeah. Which is, that's a big industry. There are these big junkyards filled with old cars, and you run around, find what you need, pull it off the car, and take it up front. They charge you a pittance for it.
Mm-hmm.
Pick apart. But that is it's almost impossible to do on modern engines. So it is an upside of having one of these old cars. A downside to having one of these old cars is that they are almost uniformly death traps in comparison to anything more modern, right? Not going to have the side airbags, not going to have the impact crumple zones, not going to have the front airbags, not going to have any of that shit. Steel reinforced frames at certain points. You're just going to...
It doesn't have crumple zones.
That's what I said, yeah. Not going to have the crumple zones, not going to have this or that. Mm-hmm. And it's just, you're going to die if you get in a bad car accident in one. Whereas, you got a chance in a modern car.
I imagine some people try, just putting the skin of the car on a newer, frame, too.
If you can find a chassis that fits a different type of car, you can make a kind of Frankenstein's monster that looks like it's one thing, but underneath it all, it's another thing. In fact, car manufacturers will do that sometimes.
Like you said, that the PT Cruiser was just the Dodge Neon with the PT Cruiser.
I wanted a PT Cruiser when they first came out in the worst way. I was in my early 20s when they first came out. And there was this dude that was a regular at my Starbucks who was kind of like a mentor to me. He was an older dude, and he was always talking to me about, because I think he saw himself in me because I was working hard and, paying my own way, and I was young, you know what I mean? And he overheard me saying to somebody how I was hoping to save up money for a down payment on a PT Cruiser, and he was like, he's like, you know what that is, right? He was like, would you buy a Dodge Neon? I was like, fuck no, those are pieces of shit. Then don't buy a PT Cruiser. The only thing that isn't Dodge Neon on a PT Cruiser is the fiberglass. And I was like, oh. And I looked into it, and sure enough. So even car companies will do that to kind of like dress up a piece of shit car and be able to charge more for it and make it look slicker or something. They'll just take an old chassis and then with the motor and everything, pop a new body on it.
Yeah, I mean, probably the downside with the Frankenstein car, though, is like, yeah, if it's not like a manufacturer doing it, probably safety-wise, it's not tested at all how that works on that.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're really putting it
Yeah,
into the hands of faith. Yeah.
for sure. Surely some of these classic cars have a durable chassis, though. Oh, for sure. Well, depending on what era of classic you're talking about, but yeah. Your older cars are going to be built like a brick shit house as far as the chassis goes, but it's more the fiberglass and shit that's on top of the chassis that isn't reinforced and isn't, you know what I mean?
Well, like, yeah, the older cars weren't designed to protect you. They were designed to stay intact.
Right.
So, like, we want to fall into a trampoline, not a fucking brick wall.
Yeah.
That's what the older cars
It's not even you falling into the brick wall that is it's the brick wall coming into your face.
Yeah.
As you're, you know, and that's what happens with these older cars. They get in a head-on collision, and where the passenger and driver sit just becomes an accordion, basically. My dream vehicle is a 92 Chevy S10. So a truck. Yeah. My parents had a 1969 Ford F-150. And my dad kept that thing running forever. My parents had it all the way up until about, I think they sold it like 15 years ago. Finally. And I was pretty heartbroken by that because that truck had been, you know, in my family forever. My dad had pretty much like hand restored it. He dropped a whole brand spanking new engine in it. He had redone the whole thing. It was just a nice old truck, and it would be cool to have that if I had a truck. You know what I mean? I'm not a big truck guy, but having a big old truck like that would be neat if I were rich. Thanks. Thanks for the Canucka bucks. I appreciate it.
Canucka bucks.
I don't mind the Canucka bucks. I like a Canucka buck here, Canucka buck there. Yeah, I gotta start talking to Scotty about piping down his rhetoric. We gotta show solidarity with our Canuck brothers. There's some crazy shit happening over in Canuckistan.
Exchange rate is still real bad, though. Like, it used to be the other way around. Briefly, the Canadian dollar was worth more.
It was starting to
and
get
collapsed,
there.
And it just fucking
Never really caught back up.
Yeah.
Are there any luxury car brands you think are overrated? I don't know. I don't have a whole bunch of experience driving luxury cars. So it would all be down to just like my opinion on things. I mean, I was never into the entry-level luxury brands that were popular in the 90s, like Lexus, right? And Infiniti. You remember those? I don't even know if they make... I think they still make Lexus, but Infiniti is not a car company anymore. Probably folded into another one. But those were kind of like... Can't afford a Rolls Royce, but I want something that's a little flashier, faster, and more premium than, you know, the top of the line Chevy or Ford.
Infinity's still a thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
Weird. I don't know that I've seen one in forever.
I think. Wait, aren't they owned by Nissan, and then they like decide to fold in the sales into Nissan dealerships to downsize?
Maybe that's possible. I think it was good until I mentioned it. Then the stupid started talking. It's okay. We'll take care of that. Otello and Midnight Ghoul's fingers are smoking.
Get some more coffee. Do you want to warm up?
Sure. I'll take a little drizzle in there. Thank you, me lords. All right then. More work. Off I go then. What is it? Yes, me lord. All right then. More work. Who'd you want to kill? That was my favorite one. The headhunters from Warcraft 1. Who'd you want to kill? Always happy to keep the tards at bay. Well, I do appreciate it. And sometimes the tard wave is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Where am I? Looks beautiful. I'm in the forest. I live in the forest, right by the sea.
There wasn't much on there for a warm up. Sorry.
That's okay. Did you get enough?
Yeah, I got a little half cup. I just need to start making more coffee.
Maybe.
It's hard to guess because, like, you think you poured enough for 3 cups, but we have different size mugs.
That is true. I've got one mug that's absurd. It's like 2 mugs in one.
Well, yeah, there's probably a difference of, like, at least 4 ounces between these two.
Getting a little sunlight out here today. What do you think about that day? We're having a little sunny day today. What do you think about that? You like a little sunny day? A little Sunday fun day?
Where's your Sunday fun day? I know you got a Sunday fun day shirt.
He does have a Sunday fun day shirt. It's just packed somewhere. He's in a box somewhere. We don't know where. We need to give you a bath, I think.
Yeah. I'm just feeling sticky.
Well, he's been itching at his hind quarter there. He's all wet on his butt.
Yeah. You're just, you know, no bath today.
I think maybe a bath.
Alright. Well, maybe when Dad's done with his show, maybe we'll do a bath.
What show?
This.
Oh, this show. Yeah, we'll do a bath. I think a bath.
Oh.
Gee whiz, D.
Kind of tease it out a little bit. Yeah. I found this like channel browsing through shorts the other day. This lady that like takes people's hair that's just matted into a giant mat and untangles it rather than cuts the mat instead of cutting the mat out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Takes like 12 hours to do. It means that someone doesn't have to cut their hair.
I see.
Mom will just try to tease this one out.
Haunt on Netflix. Yeah, I don't know. I don't do Netflix.
There we go.
Well, well, well.
Teased it out.
You're a mess, D. You are a great big old mess, D. What can we even say about it?
You can just tease out some. Oh, call him back.
Okay. Hey everyone, I need a couple good horror classic recommendations. Like how classic? See, that's the problem with me is I'm starting to. You would consider shit that came out when I was a kid classic. For me, classic is like black and white 50s shit. You know, like that's classic. What do you think of Rob Zombie's Halloween? Haven't seen it, won't see it, don't care to see it. Like Amityville era, so we're talking like 70s, early 80s kind of shit. The 80s is you're spoiled for choice. You're spoiled for choice there, friend. Let's see. I'm trying to think of something in that vein. I mean, Pumpkinhead is great. That's an 80s horror flick if you've never seen it. It's going to be in that zone. If you've never seen The Omen, The Omen is really fucking good. Good 70s horror movie there. Rosemary's Baby as well, is probably one of the top horror movies from that era. Those are both really good. Yeah, Omen about the kid. But you got to make sure you watch the original Omen and not the remake, because they did a shot-for-shot remake that is horrible and pointless. You got to watch the original Omen. But yeah, the Omen, yeah, that's a good one. I'd say both of those, Rosemary's Baby and The Omen, are both really worth watching. Both kind of like psychological horror movies as well. Psychological / semi-supernatural. I'm never recommending people Poltergeist again, because I have to be honest with you, dude. I was sat down. Amelia had never seen the original Poltergeist. I was like, let's watch it. You know what I mean? I saw it on one of the fucking streaming services we had. I put it on. I probably hadn't seen it in 15, 20 years. You know what I mean? It's just not a movie I've watched a bunch of times, but I remember it being good. Dude, we watched that movie. That movie is slow. That movie is not a movie. It just doesn't really hold up to modern movies. I mean, slop would work too. It's not slop though. I mean, it's not a terribly made movie, and there are some things in it worth seeing, but like narratively speaking, it's just such a slow, boring film. Yes, Poltergeist is one of those movies that drags ass. Should have ended earlier than it did, etc. We'll see. Jeez.
She can't do anything, but she'll re-put in the request, and it might not be taken care of before we have to pay rent, so they might have to give us a credit instead of taking the charge off.
Oh my god, bro. It's a bureaucracy nightmare.
Y'all got them big mega landlords.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Ultra fucking landlords that are just a giant company. The Poltergeist on Poltergeist. Yeah, that's true. I just wasn't feeling it. For my money, the best Poltergeist movie is probably the one that people make the most fun of. It's Poltergeist 3 because it's the only one that does something that feels like unique. It's like a haunted house movie, but the haunted house is a skyscraper instead of the house, right? Like that's cool. I like that. People shit on 3.
Wasn't there that like reflection thing too, where that was like a whole thing?
Yes. Yeah, like the mirrors and the puddles and stuff, like those could become like pools to the other side. You get sucked into one or pulled into one. It's the rich family. That's when like Carol Ann goes to live with her uncle and her aunt and her cousin because her family is all fucked up because they've been haunted by the poltergeists. And they live in the city and they're rich and they live in a big high-rise modern apartment building. And just like the old rickety house that has a ghost in it, you got to do some pretty crazy shit to get me interested in that as a plot line anymore. You got to take it a little further. You got to do something spicy with it if that's what you want. For my money, that's the Poltergeist movie to show somebody that's never seen Poltergeist. Because the other ones are slow, boring, and the amount of stuff in them that I think is like worth watching is way outweighed by just like lots and lots of dialogue. I think the second one is better than the first one in that instance. But the only one that feels tight, like a good horror movie, like a popcorn horror movie, which is what I think those are, is 3, in my opinion. It's a weird inversion of what's typically true. Typically, the original is good and then the sequels start to get worse, right? It's not always true, but it's a rare example of, at least in my opinion, I think Poltergeist 3 is the actually scariest and most interesting of the Poltergeist movies. Like, it has some actually disturbing shit in it. Like, there's this scene in it that always sticks with me because I think it's so well done, where they have Tangina, the little dwarf lady that's in the movies, the psychic. She comes to try and help. She sees Carol Ann in the mirror. Carol Ann comes up, she sees Carol Ann on the other side of the mirror. Carol Ann comes up and touches her, and it's an evil Carol Ann, and it like immediately like turns her into a mummy, and she like falls over. She's just dried up. And everybody's like, oh my God, what happened? And then like all of a sudden she starts to bulge and shit. And a girl like that had disappeared, the Carol Ann's older cousin, comes crawling out of Tangina, all covered in like gore and slime and shit. And her performance is just like harrowing. She's just screeching like you would expect somebody to, the acting job is really good. And just the whole scene is really memorable. And that's just like, one of the kind of memorable scenes. I just think it accomplishes something that the other movies don't. It modernizes the ghost genre in a way that those other movies didn't. I guess those movies weren't in a rickety old mansion or something. They were in kind of like a new housing development. But, I don't know. What would you say is your favorite performance in a horror movie? Oh, man. That's tough. That is really tough. I mean, there's some notable ones for me. forgetting his name. The guy that plays Ed Harley in Pumpkinhead puts a fucking straight up non-horror movie drama level performance into a horror movie, which is really good. I just can't remember his name.
So
Lance Henriksen. Yeah, I mean that is a standout role. I would be remiss not to pick Doug Bradley for his many portrayals of Pinhead, which are usually really good. If there's something bad about a fucking Hellraiser movie, it's typically not going to be him. Like, you could just tell, like, he relished playing that character, and so you look at the totality of his work with that character. I think Doug Bradley gets a nod from me. I think you got to give it to what's his name? Played Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger is just such an iconic horror icon, and just,
Robert Englund.
yeah. Robert Englund. Yeah. Got to give it to him. Pretty fucking iconic.
And they're both alive.
Yeah. Both of them probably could still do some crazy horror shit. Although
I don't know. Lance Henriksen's 84 now. That's pretty.
He's getting up there. Yeah, I mean, you would have to throw fucking Jack Nicholson in there for sure.
Just the haunted retirement home with all the olds. Fucking.
Yeah. You could just call it retirement.
I don't know. I guess he just played something. He has 4 upcoming movies. Lance Henriksen. So
He ain't
still
quitting.
doing it.
He ain't quitting. He ain't getting good fucking movies, but he ain't quitting. What about a woman in scary movies? Florence Pugh in Midsummer was just amazing. Like, you couldn't. She's such a normal girl next door looking kind of person, but you couldn't rip your eyes away from her because she was so good at being that audience avatar, right?
I just thought she was a poor casting for Dune.
Yeah. Well, they just didn't give her enough to do in it, and they didn't do enough with her.
Mm-hmm.
So Florence Pugh, I can't remember what the lady's name is, but the lady from Hereditary does a really fucking amazing job. If you want to, like, more classic performances,
Toni Collette.
Yeah.
Well, what about, like,
Sigourney.
women that played the villain, though, in a horror movie? You're picking a lot of protagonists.
Oh yeah, that is true.
The guys you were picking all villains. What about a female protagonist in a horror?
Ooh, let's see.
Well, you liked Jennifer's Body, so I guess you gotta give Megan Fox that.
That is a good movie. People shit on that movie, but that movie is actually pretty fucking cool. I don't know if it would make the final list, but it's a good starting point, you know? All right, yeah. Female antagonists in horror. It is a rarer thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to get... Does the Alien Queen count?
Probably not. That was like a puppeteered thing.
But she's a lady. Who played Carrie? Oh, yeah. That's Sissy Spacek, I think, played Carrie.
Well, which Carrie are you talking
The
about?
original Carrie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little girl in The Exorcist, although she's not really the antagonist, she's possessed by the devil. But I guess technically the antagonist, right? Kathy Bates, that's a really good one. Kathy Bates in Misery, and
And she did really
American
good
Horror
with
Story.
American Horror Story. Yeah. She was the antagonist in most of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so those are all pretty good, I would say, for female antagonists.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Do we need more female antagonists, or do you feel like you're just forgetting a lot of them?
Well, I'm not mentioning some of them because some of them are just bad. It's like there's a movie that was popular called Species,
Mm.
and it's just like a hot chick that is really an alien.
Yeah. Well, I remember we watched Terminator 3 and you realized that, like, hey, the female Terminator wasn't that bad.
Hmm. That's true. I don't know if I'd put that up
Yeah.
on the wall, but yeah, I mean, it's another female antagonist that worked way better than I remembered it working when I was a kid. Sharon Stone and Basic Instinct count? Basic Instinct is more of a thriller kind of movie.
Well, I guess you could say fucking Margaret Qualley in The Substance. She was kind of the antagonist.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that would be a good one for sure. I mean, I don't know. The way that movie goes, the antagonist is basically the main character.
Yeah. So
Like,
it's
even,
both of them.
yeah,
It's Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley.
right.
Yeah.
Because they're both, they're one. You remember, you are one.
Yeah.
Think God is real? No. At least not like, your typical kind of like religious idea of God, particularly like monotheistic ideas of God and stuff, I think have no merit. Is Flowers in the Attic a horror? Right on the edge.
Yeah, I think it's harder to think of female antagonists because a lot of times they're sharing a dual role, where they're
Yeah.
kind of the antagonist and protagonist at the same time.
It happens, yeah. It happens for sure. Trying
They
to
love
think.
possessing women with something.
Yeah. Now that lady that's in Nip Tuck that plays the life coach,
Oh yeah.
she was in something where she was evil.
Let's see.
And I cannot fucking remember for the life of me what it was, but she was evil in something.
So Nip Tuck. The character's name was. Not Layla.
No. Fuck. Fuck beans.
Okay, let's see. Ava.
Ava. You were on the road to it.
Yeah, so Famke Janssen.
Famke Janssen. I remember that name too. She's been around. Glenn Close. That's a good one in Fatal Attraction.
So let's see what her filmography is. So she was in Fathers and Sons, Relentless 4, Ashes to Ashes.
No.
Lord of Illusions.
Maybe. That's a horror movie, I think.
So, directed by Clive Barker.
Yeah. The Girlfriend from Get Out. That's a good one. Yeah, that's actually a good one. But that's another example where she's kind of like for half the movie, she's the protagonist and then she's the antagonist for the back half.
Well, it doesn't seem like she was a titular role in Lord of Illusions.
No. I just remember her being evil in something.
She was in Goldeneye.
Yeah.
What you're thinking of?
No. Maybe, well, she might have been evil in that, but no.
Yeah.
It was a horror movie I'm remembering, so. Yeah, you're right about that, though. The Girlfriend from Get Out, that lady was good. I've seen her in other things, too.
So
She
let me
seems to be
just
pretty
keep
good.
going through the list then.
Famke's. She's been around a long time, so.
So, Dead Girl.
No, I don't think so.
City of Industry.
No.
Monument Ave.
No.
The Gingerbread Man.
No.
Deep Rising.
No.
RPM.
No.
Rounders.
No. She was good in that, though.
Celebrity.
No.
House on Haunted Hill.
That might be it.
Yeah.
They did, yeah.
The 99 House on Haunted Hill.
Oh, yeah. She's not evil in it, but she gets possessed in it.
Yeah.
That is the one I'm remembering.
Yeah.
She's in that. Yeah, she's really good in that. That's actually not a bad movie because they went a different way with it.
Yeah. The OG is still.
The OG is still the best, yeah.
Yeah.
But at least they did a different kind of story with
That
them.
might be a fun little comparison between the two, the original House of Haunted Hill and
The
Lady
remake.
Di remake.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because you could probably use more from the original.
Yeah. You mentioned that movie earlier. Cool. I'm sorry I didn't see it, but yeah, I think that might be the one I'm remembering. D.
It was so bad the other day, Dinor got his foot stuck on his own mat from scritching.
Yeah. He needs a bath. He needs a bath. We'll get a bath today.
I just feel like I'm having a hard time pulling him away from you until you also come in.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a bath. Get a bath today. Get your old scrubbed. Scrubba dubba 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 dubba.
Yeah, because it definitely does make him a little bit more prone to tangle when he's got crud on his fur.
He's not very cruddy, but
Well, it's just like the dirt
yeah,
sticks.
yeah. He picks up a lot of dirt on his hindquarters because that's where he be laying and sitting. Joe Floofy. Frosias are back.
They definitely, like, earlier they were only hanging out at night, but I think as it's getting warmer, they're starting to pipe up during the day more.
Seems that way, huh? We just have so much water that, like, it makes sense. They're gonna be everywhere. This reminds me, what happened to your old story time and Amity Rot's streams on Ideology? Did YouTube take them down? I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, I mean, Ideology as a channel was restored, so...
There might have been some copyright thing flagged. I don't know. Dusty porch. I've got a dusty porch. Time to fix this dusty porch. It's been bugging me. It's been staring at it. Staring at this dusty ass porch. Ugh. Yeah, but the channel's back though, so they might actually be there. I don't know if you know that. If you search Ideology, the channel is back, so those might still be there. Gonna be a new follower? Cool. Cool beans. We like those. Those streams might be on this channel too. It's what we try to be. I do like that. I do like conversation. I've always liked a good conversation. Even if it's like semi one way. I'll conversate with myself quite often. It's not uncommon. D. Oh wait, D's out. D's inside. Oh, England, dude. I know it's kind of boomerish, but one of the things that still blows my mind about the internet is that I'm still kind of bowled over by how I can just do something as simple as go out on my porch, turn it on, and somebody from all the way on the other side of the planet is watching me and interacting with me. You know what I mean? I know that's just like, well, duh. You know what I mean? Like when you're born at a time when the internet is already an expected utility, it's kind of a duh thing. But I was born way before that. And so it's still something that kind of boggles my mind sometimes. Like, holy fuck. You know, there are people, you know, and I can look at my demographics and stuff like that. I'll see there are people in Africa, there are people in Greenland, there are people in Scandinavia, there are people in the Middle East, there are people in China and Taiwan, and you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to me. It's something as simple as just like sitting on your porch and shooting the shit, smoking weed. It could be like a globalized thing, even in a small way. You know what I mean? From thousands of miles away. Oh shit. Oh shit. Speak of the devil. There's an Icelander. That's crazy to me. Don't die now? Don't worry about it. Marijuana does cause people to cough. It's a spicy beatable. The self-proclaimed prophet always a charlatan? Unless they're me, yes. I am a prophet, but everybody else is a charlatan. Funnily enough, I think that is the answer. I think that's how self-proclaimed prophets operate, right? What are you prophesizing? What do you want a prophecy about? You gotta ask specific questions, and I'll give you a prophecy. You tell me, and I'll tell you. U.S. elections 2028. Keep your eye on Gavin Newsom. There's less than 500,000 people in Iceland, and one of them is watching you. What are the odds? Gotta be pretty fucking low. Genuine question for you, and the boys too. When is Dylan Burns going to acknowledge he was wrong about everything he said on your show? What's your opinion on the fact he was dead wrong? I don't know about dead wrong. I just think that, maybe TJ and I had a little more foresight than he did. in how these conflicts play out, right? We saw the future by knowing a little bit about the past. When America has had these kind of misadventures in the past, the people in those countries never end up better off as a result. Or if they do, it's after a long period of utter devastation and international rebuilding of their fucking society for them. So I knew it was going to be devastation. I knew years ago that they were going to run most of the young people in Ukraine into the trenches. And I knew that there would be 1 million people. If you take both sides of this conflict, which I do, you got conscript armies on both sides. A lot of people try and lie and say that Russian armies aren't conscripted, but the truth of the matter is they conscript heavily from their prison system, and they use money as a kind of like soft conscription, and it's the same thing that kind of America does, to be honest with you, but more stark, I think, in Russia, where they will offer, a payment that people can't turn down to go to the front line. These are people that probably wanted nothing to do with being in war, that were enticed to be in war either at the point of a gun or with the promise of money that they desperately need to support a family, right? So you're talking about conscripts versus conscripts, and you're talking about 1 million people in the dirt. You know what I mean? So it's a perspective issue with Dylan. It's not that he's wrong. You know what I mean? I don't know that you can traditionally point at him and say, you're wrong, right? I wouldn't be interested in doing that necessarily, but I do think that it is an issue of perspective. What matters to you? Paul, can you rate your debate with Omar some streams back? I found you debated with a cool and steadfast head, but Omar was all over the place. I don't know. It's hard for me to look back on something that happened that, I just don't know. I don't know how well Omar was doing. But I do remember him being very topically all over the place and very non-responsive when I did answer things, which is fairly typical of a debate bro. So two Icelanders in chat? That can't be true. That can't be true. No way. No way is that real. Holy Stromboli cannoli. You live in Germany. Oh, okay. You're not still in Iceland, but you are an Icelander. Got it. You guys could like conspire in the chat. Speak your Icelandic inscrutables. You think he's young and immature? I'm not really a debater, so it's not like he was up against some sort of fortified brick wall or something. I don't even really look at what we did as a debate. There was no agreed upon topic. There was no moderation. There was no, we had a political discussion that was more like tending towards maybe an argument, right? You guys said that the U.S. would demand some kind of mineral deal, and he blatantly rejected the possibility. Yeah, I haven't gone back and rewatched all of that stuff, but, we did talk about how, at the end of this, the United States is going to own the very ground under Ukrainians' feet for the foreseeable future. And that seems to be the case as well. So. They're doing it, dude. They're doing it. Dude, they're plotting in their fucking Icelandic moon runes, dude. Oh no, dude. They're doing it. I gum vio agera sam seri javnelsvo vau meo hiogangstateoa gagnasteteoa vio hercotum himin. Oh no. Dude, they're talking in their fucking crazy moon runes up there, man. Oh no. You're casting some crazy fucking Viking wolf spirit spell on me or some shit. I'm done. Hinga dinga durgan. Oh shit. Oh man, that one hit me in the funny bone right there. That one popped me in the funny bone right there. It's kind of sad the way some people view this conflict is, was Paul's ego wrong? I know. I know. You think about the different layers of fucking like removal of yourself and the actual consequences of what you're arguing about when your main focus is this fat fucking stoner neckbeard wrong? It's just like, man, you talk about keeping something at arm's length. There's keeping something at arm's length, and then there's keeping something at bridge length. You know what I mean? I was like, holy fuck. That's because Paul wrong is what's most important to them. Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of it too is that so many people are locked into the react cycle, which is, I'm gonna pay attention to the news every single second of every single day, and as soon as something is even fucking floated in the news, I'm gonna run with it. I'm gonna run with it like it's true. You know what I mean? And they'll go like, oh yeah, mineral deal fell apart, Paul's ego was wrong. And it's just like 2 days later, the mineral deal's back on the fucking table. But it doesn't matter because that was 2 days ago, and they're still right today because of it. You know what I mean? And so many people are brain broken by just the constant barrage of opinion-tinged news that comes across their fucking daily life. And I can't blame them for that. That is a tough thing to deal with. Can we accept that there are things we will never understand? Well, yeah, I mean, you have to. You don't have a choice. You're not going to reach ultimate knowledge in your short period of consciousness. So let's be real. But we, as a species, maybe we attain that level. Kind of heavy doubt, but a man can dream. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens here. Nothing ever happens. Is that Pavement? Yeah. There you go. I have such powerful and sometimes dark nightmares and dreams. Depends, yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll get wrapped up in a dream, man. Most of the time my dreams are pretty forgettable, but From time to time, my ass will get sucked into a dream. Ugh. Dino got his back. He got his back. Dino got his back. He looks like a drowned rat. He looks like a drowned rat. Oh, I need some socks for my poor feet. Feet are freezing out here. Frozen ass fucking feet. That's better. Why do you think some people have recurring dreams, the same nightmares over and over again? Probably, I think dreams, if they are anything, are some sort of like psychological junkyard, right? It's where your brain throws stuff it doesn't really know how to deal with. And, it might be providing some sort of context by having you experience this nightmare or dream over and over and over again, right? It might be due to some trauma. I don't know. Their axon filtration system? Holy fuck, bro. Stuck between their axons. Holy shit. You guys gotta see this. Let me show you this. Look at this drowned rat. You can't come outside till he dries all the way off. Soggy, drowned rat. What a goober. You gotta stay. You can't come out all wet because you're just gonna get filthy. You're just gonna be a filthmonger if you come out. Does he swim? He does, yeah. He's a water dog. He kinda likes it. He kinda likes a swim. Huh. Asmongold. I don't really watch a whole ton of Asmongold. I will watch Asmongold for like feedback on a game that I'm into. Like, he likes Diablo stuff and Path of Exile, like MMOs and stuff, and so I'll watch his like kind of like reactions to those things sometimes. That's about all I do with Asmongold. I'm not really into the streaming shit. See Kevel's drug-fueled return to streaming. She was tasing herself for donos. That's kind of fucking sad. Yeah, I haven't heard or seen anything of Keffels in a couple years, so I don't keep up on all that. I am aware of who they are, but that's about it. Yes, Diablo 4 was trash. It's actually worse game than Diablo 3, and that's saying something. Because Diablo 3 was not my favorite game, but we're talking like the current state of Diablo 3. It's actually a way more playable game and more fun than Diablo 4. So yes, Diablo 4 was a huge letdown. And you know what the sad thing about it is it's a letdown that felt good at the beginning. It kind of felt good towards the beginning of it. And I was like, whoa, they made a new Diablo game that doesn't suck. Cool. Then I got like 15 hours into the experience and saw what the gameplay loop was. And I was like, this fucking sucks. I'm annoyed. And I feel like it's a chore that I have to do to fucking play my character. That's not good. That's not a good thing. Or having the old big YouTube channel. I mean, you could look up those dudes. I think they're still doing shit. At least, I think Ray William Johnson still does shit. I'm pretty sure. When people grow up with songs like Eve of Destruction by Barry McGuire and get it, Electric Avenue by Eddie Grant and not get it, and are still dumb. I mean, it just depends on the depth at which somebody experiences a piece of art, right? There's a very surface level enjoyability to both of those songs, you know, and so that's about how far a whole lot of people go with any kind of art or any kind of experience with art, right? They go to a movie, they see the surface of that movie. They don't think about the subtext. They don't speculate, right? Unless the movie invites them to speculate. I think every piece of art invites speculation. That's one of the awesome things about art. But a lot of people don't experience art on that level at all. You know, it's a very surface level thing. This looked cool. It was badass when he did that backflip. You know, that fucking Lamborghini with the machine guns mounted to it was awesome. James Bond's watch was cool, you know. Like all of that stuff. It's a, you know, what did I see versus what did I feel kind of thing. And I think that, honestly, not to get way afield, I think that that's the problem. I think a lot of people are emotionally out of touch. And that makes a huge, like, barred gate to experiencing a whole lot of art. Earthbound is a cool game. It was a really neat, charming, memorable game with like a really down-to-earth storyline for how crazy it was, right? It's a confusing game. Kind of. It's a game about friendship and loyalty and perseverance, right? My coworkers say that people just don't have the media literacy to understand. I think that's part of the problem too, but you gain media literacy by engaging in this act of deep thinking about a piece of art, whether it's a painting you saw or a song you heard. You know, when you really start to say like, well, what did you emotionally connect to with this lyric or this tempo change or this scene in the film was really evocative for a lot of people. Like, what did you feel inside when you watched that? How did that touch you? How did that make you feel? Was it hard to watch? Was it, you know, like most people aren't going to go that deep. And if they're not willing to go that deep, then media literacy isn't going to help you. You can, you know, recite rote facts about media all day long and still not spend much time actually thinking about the personal implications of that media, right? So there's a very robotic way of looking at things. I know you say the Tao, what has it given you in your life? I mean, I found the Tao to just be kind of like almost perspective affirming. So I don't, so affirmation maybe? I've always felt a very strong and deep spiritual connection with nature and the weather and all of these things, right? And I feel like if the Tao gave me anything, it was an affirmation of that worldview. And you know, that's really all I would ask of any kind of philosophical perspective, right? Like it's a personal thing. It's not something that I push on other people. And so it's like, for me, it's all about it's a choose your own adventure kind of maneuver for me, right? It's how do I, as a person who has to live in this body and in this mind 24/7, 365, how do I see the world? Like, what matters to me in the world, if anything? And how do I prioritize my personal experience of the world, right? Like, what does that mean to me? Going all the way back to when I was a little kid, as far back as I can remember, I loved nature. I love the outdoors. I love trees. I love the grass. I love the sunshine. I love the rain. I love the outdoors. I love the world. I love the animals in the world. I love, you know, the little creepy crawly things and the big tall things and everything in between, right? And for me, the Tao affirms that position. You know, you are to look out on that thing and not see that tree. You see yourself there, right? These are your cousins. The unity of Earth as one organism, right, is one of the tiers of power in Taoism, right? Well, spheres of influence is what they're called sometimes, right? So you're talking about man, right? The earth, the universe, the Tao. If you think about that as an inverted period, right? Or an inverted pyramid. Man at the base, the planet Earth as one organism, the universe as the canvas upon which all of that exists, and the Tao as the motive force, the incessant force of change, right? We are eternal, all this pain is an illusion. It's a lyric. And I don't know if that's nonsense. I don't know how you argue against we are eternal. You didn't appear out of the ether. You're made of the very self same things that you stand on and inhale and exhale. You're made of the sunlight and the sun itself. The elemental basis of the sun is in you. Right? So your consciousness is not eternal, at least that we know. But you, what constitutes your form, is absolutely eternal, right? matter can neither be created nor destroyed, right? This planet would be a place, you think, if people took it. I mean, it's about emotional intelligence, and it really is something that human beings. It causes a lot of problems for human beings. Everything is psychology. Yeah, it's a very hippie sentiment. We are stardust, right? But it's true, right? That the fact that it's maybe trite and a little bit hippie-ish doesn't change the fact, you know. And when you look out onto the world, you will see things in bloom and you'll see things passing, right? And that's you. Should financial responsibility be taught in grade school? Yeah. Well, I don't know about grade school, but I do think that economics, like household economics and shit, and things like taxes and all of that, like all of the adult stuff that you need to do to establish good credit and all of that stuff, that 100% should be taught. So many people fall into a hole early in their life because they know nothing about how any of that works. So yes, absolutely. You use AI to ask questions and help you uncover things about yourself. I don't really fuck around with AI much. Like, I've used it a couple of times, but I'm not fascinated with it. I don't feel the connective spark of conversation in an AI, right? I would much rather talk to human beings. So I don't use it much to augment my knowledge and stuff. Maybe that's a failing of mine, but I'm not the type of guy to run to the AI, you know. That's okay though. If you know, I understand how people are fascinated by it. It just doesn't. It's the current iteration of it is too distant. AI is great for mechanics, but should never replace human creativity. I don't know about never. Shoulds and never. There's two words that are like those are bad words in my world. Should and never are words born of hubris. I really try and avoid shoulds when I'm talking about people because I am not those people, right? I don't have those people's experiential history and I don't live those people's lives. Should is a bad word. And then never is just a word is packed with hubris. Packed and packed and packed and with overwhelming implied hubris. Did you hear of Facebook planning to flood their platform with AI users? Planning to? You know that's probably just a cover for them just admitting that a huge proportion of their users are already AI. Yes, that earthquake in like Myanmar and Thailand and all that shit was fucking crazy. That place was not ready for that type of a fucking earthquake. Pretty devastating. They're using bioengineered brains for computers. Sick. Man, we're just racing towards the inevitable conclusion. Is California ready for that big one? In more ways than some places are. California's experienced a few big ones, and so, these coastal cities in California oftentimes are pretty well prepared for earthquakes. I don't know about tsunamis, though. That's the real scary thing for Cali. Is there's a lot of tsunami risk in Cali. California and Oregon. Yeah, well, I mean, California sits on the San Andreas Fault, which I think runs all the way up into Oregon and maybe even possibly up into Washington via fault connections. But yeah, no, there's really nowhere you can be on the planet except for maybe really far inland, and even then, where you can say that there's no chance of an earthquake. I mean, we live on a tectonic planet. It's constantly shifting, you know. Did you ever go to an AA meeting in the past? I've never been to an AA meeting, but I went to one Al-Anon meeting. Al-Anon, a lot of people think they're the same thing. You stay. I'm too dirty.
Too wet.
Too wet. You get too. This thing is too dirty out here.
Yeah. Thanks for sweeping this up. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine.
We're used to doing it like down on the ground.
Yeah.
Trash. That's better.
No, don't worry about it. You're no big deal. I just saw it and I was like, damn. Is addiction a disease? Yeah, of course. But yeah, no, I went to an Al-Anon meeting one time. Al-Anon is like a support group for families of drug and alcohol abuse or abusers, right? I went to it one time and I was chased away by the pseudo-religious nature of it. There was a whole lot of talk about surrendering to a higher power and blah, 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 blah. And it was just very nominally Christian, and that chased me right the fuck out of it because I wasn't looking for that kind of comfort. I was looking for real, like, coping strategies for how to be in a family that's touched by that sort of thing and how to exist as an adult that was raised in that kind of environment. And I didn't get much of that. I got a whole lot of woo-woo and not a whole lot of coping strategy out of it. And I didn't find it to be cathartic to be in that room with other people talking about all this deeply personal shit. This wasn't my thing. I don't want to poo-poo it, though, because I know it helps people. But personally, I was kind of chased away from it. I'm also kind of like very, very skeptical of the government's use of AA as a punishment for people.
Yeah, like sentencing them to go to AA.
Right, because it's like, in that case, I think AA should be entirely secular, but it is not. So it's almost like the government forcing you
They
to
skirt the line by saying higher power.
right, but it's very thinly veiled Christianity.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, you basically have the government, or the powers that be sentencing a person to a religious indoctrination as punishment for a crime. Everybody's always saying Yellowstone is going to blow.
Apparently they're finding, though, that, like, the heat from global warming is increasing seismic activity.
Awesome. That's great to know.
We've gotten so bad that we're affecting underneath the Earth, too.
Fantastic. That's really good to know.
So we might see us a volcano.
Oh, no. No.
You've never seen it in person, have you?
I don't want it, man.
You don't want to say hi to the volcano?
The day I was born, it was raining ash from Mount St. Helens.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want that. I don't know that I want to see that.
Well, if it's a big enough eruption, that'll actually cool down the Earth a little bit.
That might be nice. But once again, it's
It's a cloud of...
Yeah, it's a cloud of toxic shit in the air. Krakatoa 2, Electric Boogaloo, yeah. Watch the geologists say that Yellowstone is exaggerated. That's what I'm saying, dude. These like Doomsdays right around the corner stories have been a thing since I was a kid and way before that.
Yeah, the same with like the California mega quake.
Yeah, it's like the San Andreas fault is due for like an 11 on the Richter scale, and it's coming, baby. You know, there's an asteroid due. We're overdue for a big asteroid impact, so it's just a matter of time, you know. And it's like
we fell for it this time. We're like a whole fucking 2% or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Maybe this is the one.
And then they reduced it to 0 when they got a closer look at it.
Yep. But it's actually part of big business. It's like this weird intersection of science and business, like pop science and the entertainment business. Because back in the day, everybody was, like in the 90s and early 2000s, everybody was obsessed with meteors because a few things happened in that time, right? You had Halley's Comet passed by in the 80s. Mm-hmm. There was another comet, Shoemaker-Levy. Mm-hmm. That was a big, bright thing that everybody saw in the sky. You had Apophis, which was another one of these near-Earth objects that could hit us, maybe, you know what I mean? And it had this name that became a meme.
When we were doing that Asteroid episode, we learned about that Russian one.
Yep. And so it's just like, you know,
because most of them are clickbait, like, oh, an asteroid's close to Earth, but it's still like 1,000,000 miles away, and it's gonna pass by us.
Right. But if you look at all of that, what came out of it, like what tangibly came out of it culturally, was a bunch of movies about asteroids hitting the planet.
Yeah. Like,
Deep Impact, Armageddon, The Day After Tomorrow.
And now it's like peaking up again.
Yeah.
With Don't Look Up.
Don't Look Up.
Moonfall
is that same thing, basically. It's just chunks of the moon instead of, you know, whatever.
I mean, and Moonfall was the whole moon.
Well, yeah, but I mean, chunks of it were
There's a
coming
secret
off.
about the moon.
Yeah. We don't want to spoil it, but you think you know the moon, you don't.
But you know what? That movie got unfairly panned. It was a good, stupid action flick.
We had a good time.
On the level of Armageddon.
Yeah, it was dumb as shit, but it was fun. It was a popcorn movie. Like, we watched the whole movie basically in one big sitting.
Yeah.
Because we're bowled over. What is going to happen next? Yeah. And they leaned into the cheesy CGI so hard that it was almost enjoyable. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was just, I enjoy a movie that ain't trying to be world-changing. Yeah. It just trying to be entertaining. Mm-hmm. That was like The Monkey for me, too. Yeah. You know, it's not like the most memorable movie ever, but it was a fun movie. Yeah.
Or Monkey Man or whatever.
Monkey Man, that's another one, too. That one was a little deeper, though. Yeah. That one had some messages in it, and some social commentary, and some cultural shit in it that were really cool. But definitely enjoyable as a turn your brain off. Yeah. Cool action, rock 'em, sock 'em, beat 'em up. Mm-hmm. Remember the CGI in Escape from L.A.? Oh, yeah, or you're talking about the surfing. Escape from L.A. had the scene where Snake Plissken surfs a giant tsunami in order to get across the L.A. basin real quick. And there's a bunch of it in there, but that's the most egregious one. And yeah, you know what I mean? It doesn't ruin the movie for me, though. It's one of the most absurd action scenes in a movie ever. And from my perspective, you know what I mean? Because Snake is not a superhero. He's a normal dude, flesh and blood. He's just a badass that, you know, is willing to take risks and stuff. But like surfing a fucking tsunami through the San Fernando Valley is insane. Remember Monkey Bone starring Brendan Fraser? Yes. Well, only part of it. I'm trying to remember if I'm saying this right because I always get this mixed up. Yes. Monkey Bone is the only movie I ever walked out of. And it wasn't really even Monkey Bone's fault, but it was kind of Monkey Bone's fault because I wasn't interested enough in the movie to put up with the lady that was 2 rows back that brought her children to see Monkey Bone and was all shocked when it was adult themed.
Did I tell you how I saw Avatar? A family walked out of that Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro?
Or not Robert.
Robert Downey.
Robert Downey.
Okay, yeah, okay. I was like, De Niro did a Sherlock movie?
Robert Downey, sorry.
No, good. So a family walked out of that?
Yeah, my family walked out. We just walked into Avatar when it was like 20 minutes in.
That was see, that's just common. Like, that's a common thing back in the 80s. When I was a teenager, if you paid for a movie and you got like 20 minutes in and it sucked and you knew there was another movie playing that was better, you just went into it.
Yeah.
That's why you see people coming and doing the count.
Yeah.
You ever notice that? Like an employee with a little soft light will come in and they're counting how many heads are in here.
Yeah.
That's also why they started to do the assigned seating thing. Because you can immediately see somebody that is in a chair that isn't booked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to do that a lot as a teenager. You could also, like, if you were fucking chill about it and you didn't do it a ton of times, and I didn't do this a ton of times, I'd say maybe 10 times my whole life. You pay for one movie, you go, you sit in it, you go to the bathroom right after, hang out in there, pretending to take a shit for about 15, 20 minutes, then you just confidently make your way into a movie.
Yeah.
2 for 1, baby.
Well, I think even with them escalating with like doing the counts and the assigned seating, I don't know how willing they would actually be to confront anyone about it.
They do.
They do?
Yeah. I've seen people get pulled out, but typically, if you're fucking low-key about it, it's all up to the fucking employee.
Well, like, because when I worked in retail, like, we could see someone was stealing, but we couldn't directly confront them about it.
Yeah.
We couldn't chase them out of the store.
You just have to call the cops, basically.
No, you couldn't even do that.
Really?
Yeah.
You just let them go?
Yeah.
And then
you
do
can
what?
kind of, like, try to gently encourage them, like, we saw you stealing, but, like, the policy of the company was, like, you don't call the cops unless it's, like, egregious, like, a certain dollar amount.
So basically, just go ahead and steal from the company.
Well, kids, they don't want to do, like, a big confrontation, especially at a smaller store. Like, I think a bigger one, like Macy's, they have more aggressive, like, security, but, like, if it's not big enough for security, it's kind of dicey on if they even let people confront.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we weren't supposed to confront when we saw people stealing in Starbucks. So... Walmart lets people steal a certain amount so they can prosecute. Oh, they like watch them and wait till they get to like a dollar amount that's prosecutable and then bust them. That's actually kind of funny. That's muffed up, yo. It's the worst stealing attempt you saw. There's only one that I remember, and it was just kids.
Yeah.
It was at the first Starbucks I was hired at, so it must have been like 2001, maybe 2000, late 2000. Just a group of teenage kids. One of them had a fucking white boy dreads. Came in, ordered like a coffee, and we're sitting around, and I just watched one of them just pocket something off of the shelf.
Yeah.
And I went over there and I was like, don't be fucking stupid. Come on. And that was that. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't, there's not really a story to it. I wasn't allowed to, like, make a big scene about it, but I just told him, like, I'm not blind, dumb fucks. Finish up your coffee and quit stealing. Roommate that stole a 20 from you and lied was funny. Oh, yeah, that is true. It was 50. I got a $50 bill for graduation from some family member, right? I can't even remember who gave it to me. Aunt or uncle or grandma. And they gave me a $50 bill in a card, and I just had it sitting on my dresser. And, you know, I always had my friends over at my house, in and out. And one day I had my friends over, and all of a sudden that $50 is just gone. And so, like, I start looking around for it, because I don't, you don't want to think your homies grabbed your money and stuffed it. Like, who would do that? And so it got to the point where I just started asking them. I was like, hey, did you guys see that $50 on my dresser? And every one of my homies was like, I didn't see it, but if it disappeared, it was this dude. Matt was his first name. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, dude. He's a klepto, man. He'll just take shit. And so I confronted him about it, and he just stood on business. I did not. And it was years fucking later that he hit me up on Facebook. Yeah. And he was like, dude, I'm sorry for fucking stealing from you that one time. Because it ended our fucking friendship. Because the way he denied it, I didn't believe him.
Yeah. He was just too defensive about it.
Yeah. Just the way he got about it. And the other things that the guys had told me about, they'd seen him do this, they'd seen him do that. Because of that, I found out that he had helped dudes rip me off for weed one time. It was real early on, like I was a sophomore in high school or something, and I wasn't at the point yet where I was smoking every goddamn day. You just couldn't afford it, and I was used to throwing in on weed, but not having my own weed. It wasn't just a normal thing for me. And I went to a party with a sack of weed. It was pretty bad, swaggy weed, but it was weed, whatever. And these dudes I didn't know came over to the party, but Matt did know them. And they were like, oh, yeah, you got some weed? I was like, yeah. I'm not real good at rolling joints, though. And they're like, oh, we'll roll up a couple Fat J's for you. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. We'll smoke together. They're like, yeah, bet. Roll up some joints, right? I'm not watching. And they're like, hey, man, we got those joints for you out there on the table, but we just got a jet. We got to go. I was like, you guys don't even want to smoke? They're like, nah, man, that's all you. I was like, well, thanks, guys. And as they're leaving, Matt goes, props on the pinch. And they're like, yeah, man. And I didn't know what props on the pinch meant. Yeah. But he just, like, let them rip me off. Didn't say a fucking word. This is a dude that I smoked out with. They rolled up a bunch of twigs and stems and took most of the good weed. So they broke down the weed and put all the stems and bullshit in it. Broke down a cigarette and put a little cigarette in it to fill out the joints, to make them look like joints. And then just walked with the whole sack of weed. And he, as my friend, a dude that parties with me all the time, didn't say shit. It's like, yeah, that's rat behavior for sure. So that's why that dude and I just were never friends again. He hit me up on Facebook. I never even replied to him. I'm like, dude, your true when somebody shows me their true colors, and their true colors are, I'm a fucking rat with no loyalty. Why the fuck am I keeping you around me? Props on the pinch. Now, to be honest with you, it's on me. I was stupid, and look, dude, ultimately I learned the lesson. Like, especially in those days when weed is illegal, Don't leave your weed with somebody you don't fucking implicitly trust. Because it's real easy to fucking grab a nug or two and pocket that shit. Who needs enemies with friends like that? For real.
Poor moping wet diner.
I know. Little mopey.
He wouldn't let us hair dry him. So he just has to drip dry. That's just how he be.
But yeah, that's shitty behavior, and that's, you know, that's the only really time that I remember having that issue with a friend. Like having a really close friend like that you just learn that you is completely and utterly untrustworthy. You know what I mean? Not just stealing, but just snaking you, I guess, for no reason either.
I did have one friend as a kid that, like, did schemes. Like, went to a thrift store and, like, put something inside of something else during checkout.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is...
I mean, a thrift store is just kind of like,
I mean,
get that shit for free anyhow.
It is kind of fucking low to steal from a thrift store, but, you know, yeah, they're not gonna fucking...
Well, it's like they didn't pay for it. They got it donated to them, so... It's
true.
Like... Some thrift stores are just like they'll put a price tag on something that's just like literal garbage, put it on the shelf. It's like like when I went to the thrift store recently, there was just like a bag of like wine corks. And it's like,
yeah, that's weird. Took advantage of your kind nature. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what he did. He took advantage of the fact that I was just a trusting guy when it came to my friends, because I don't snake my friends, so why would they snake me? And I was young, and, you know, I hadn't been snaked like that before, so ultimately he was a good lesson in my life, and a pretty cheap lesson besides. You know, a 20 sack and a $50 bill is a pretty cheap way to learn not to be so trusting. But still a snaky fucking thing, for sure. Closest thing I've done is sneaking food into the movie theater. You know that was never illegal?
Yeah, like they did a whole thing and they realized like we can't actually tell people to not do that.
You can't tell somebody not to bring food in their bag into your fucking theater when you're serving food. You just can't.
So it's not like a restaurant.
It isn't.
That's all they do.
Well, some of the places will be like that.
Yeah.
Like the places that run like a restaurant where you have dinner and a movie, they can bust you for that. Because they're actually serving restaurant food and stuff. But like, if it's just snacks, you can't tell people you have to pay for our $90 snack. You can't bring some Werther's Originals in your purse. It's bullshit. So no outside food is complete bullshit, and they can't enforce it. So bring all your food that you want. Load your big ass purse up with red vines and chicken fingers and whatever else you want, because they can't say shit to you.
Bring a whole rotisserie chicken.
Yeah. My mom brought fucking 250 live crickets into a movie one time. They can't say shit.
That was so
I know.
They were just like chirping a little bit.
I know. We can hear them.
Then she brought it to the restaurant too, which probably wasn't good.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Nobody said shit.
She wasn't eating them.
Nope.
They were contained.
They were contained. She had just picked up, I can't remember what for.
Well, for the bird, remember?
Oh yeah, that's right, for her bird. She picked up some live crickets on an errand and then met us for lunch and a movie with the live crickets. She didn't want them stolen out of her car and getting too hot in the car, so she brought them on into the movie. Were they reptile food? No, bird food.
Yeah, she'd rescued a little mockingbird
Mm-hmm.
that may or may not have been eaten by her cat.
We don't talk about Rocky. You know? It's a 50-50 chance Rocky was munched. Live crickets? Yes. Live crickets. Yes. In the movies? Yes. In the movies. What
At
movie?
the restaurant.
Do you remember what movie
We were
we
watching
saw?
one of those Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movies.
So at least it was a loud ass movie. It wasn't
Yeah.
like the, but yes.
Well, you always gotta munch on Dad's foot.
He tries. He tries.
Just gonna have to wait, D. You refuse to be blow dried, so you just have to wait.
Sucks to be you, bud.
I mean, we don't have a blow dryer, but we know that he wouldn't do it because, like, every time he's been to the groomer, she just gives up and lets him drip dry.
Yeah, he doesn't tolerate the blow dryer very well, so. No towel. Well, we towel them off, obviously.
But you can't just towel him bone dry.
No.
It's fur. It's not like skin.
Yeah. Yeah, next time I don't know how much hair you have, but if you've got any kind of significant hair, take a shower and take a towel to your hair and see how long it takes you to get it bone dry. Favorite Woody Harrelson performance? He was really good on Cheers, where he played Woody, which is interesting. But he was really good on Cheers. Very endearing character actor on that. I really like him in True Detective a lot. Like that's just such a compelling performance that it's hard not to call it a standout. He's really good in White Men Can't Jump as well. That's a surprisingly good movie given how.
He was good in that show where it was based on the Watergate thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Watergate. What was that called? It had a weird name.
Yeah.
But
which was funny too because he was like semi-connected to the conspiracy about JFK.
Yeah.
Like his dad was a hitman or whatever.
Yeah. Wesley Snipes was good in White Men Can't Jump also, yes.
White House Plumbers, that's what it was called.
White House, yeah, the White House Plumbers. He was good in that. I'd say of those, impact on me personally wise, True Detective. True Detective season 1. Just masterfully done. Just the best of that series by a long shot. Steven Seagal, a fraud.
Fraud in what way? Like who is he ripping off specifically?
Yeah, I know. That's the question, right? Like it's like making up shit about yourself make you a fraud? Is pretending to be something you ain't fraudulent? Or is it just dishonest? To me, fraud is like trying to get money or goods or services up out of somebody by lying to them about what you're going to provide them, right? That's fraud. right? Or representing yourself as something that you aren't in order to scam money off of people. I guess maybe you could argue that, you know, if he charges for these Jeet Kune Do or whatever his little stupid fake martial art is thing, but I don't think he does. I think he just kind of like travels around and plays the blues and gets fawned over by Russians because he's willing to be pro-Russian.
Yeah, I mean, he's the Russia's special envoy to the U.S., but like every envoy is going to have ulterior motives for the nation they represent.
Right, so he's, you know.
He's not like hiding that he's a Russian citizen now.
No, he's openly fucking did it. He's buddy with Putin, yeah, for sure.
But like, is that fraud to change your citizenship and represent the country you're
openly? No.
Yeah.
No, it isn't fraud. He does Aikido, which has no practical self-defense applications. Right. I didn't remember what.
Well, I mean, but does it have to be practical to be a thing?
I guess
like, if he's practicing what that is, then that's what that is.
Sure.
I guess, yeah. Apparently in 95, he was charged with employment discrimination. That's fraud.
I guess. Was he found guilty of it?
It was dismissed.
Then no.
Yeah.
Would you play Arkham Knight and beat the story for $100? Arkham Knight. Is that like the third one of the Arkham City series? I mean, I'm not selling playthroughs for video games, so no. How's that? Yeah, I don't know if I would be super interested in playing through one of those games. I've tried all three of them and not been sucked into it enough to want to keep playing it. So I'm just
a 10-year-old game now too. It's a weird.
I mean, yeah, it is. I own them all. You know, it's not like I couldn't do it, but I don't know that I'd be interested in doing it, to be honest with you. There's just too much. It's one of those open world games where there's too much fiddly shit to do, and I'm a completionist in those types of games. Like, I have to get every little point of interest and every little side quest and every little... I feel like I'm missing out on some big fucking badass upgrade.
You got stuck in a horrible loop in Assassin's Creed Odyssey where you kept doing those little fetch quests.
Yeah, no, that's my fucking problem. Is I think at the end of the rainbow, if I do all of those, there's going to be some big reward.
But in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it's just endless.
They're endless, randomly generated fetch quests that give you a little bit of money and a little bit of XP or whatever.
Yeah. Or like you would take down those little like
villages,
enemy camps or whatever, but like they just keep regenerating.
Yeah. But I just get, I get, you know, a game like that is cool, but it has to have just like the right amount of that type of side stuff, and it all has to be kind of attainable. Otherwise, I just lose interest. Yeah, the fucking Riddler trophy mechanic is so annoying, and there's so many hidden fucking things that would be so easy to miss. I just don't want to have to follow a guide to get everything. It's just like, no, thank you. See the documentary on the high score on Tetris? It's insane how competitive. Yeah. Tetris is pretty nuts. Tetris for Jonas. Tetris for Jonas. I dropped my joint on the deck. All right, I'm done. I will see you guys some other time. Peace the fuck out.